And going live. 1, 2, 3. I'll tell you when you're live.
Okay. We are.
And you are live.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right.
Live.
Afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. This is a very exciting evening that we have, or afternoon we have planned for all of you. We are the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force in collaboration with the Jamaica Teachers Association, putting on it's referred to as the boys conference, because we're going to teach our talk about how boys learn, how they are engineered differently, if you will, from girls. The theme for this afternoon's seminar is facilitating growth and development in boys. And we have a wonderful main presenter here, who is Dr. Marcia Chin, and she's the CEO of Springboard Academy. So you want to stick around for the duration of our seminar to listen and hear and participate as much as possible from this program. I myself, as a boy inside there, am very excited to take in what she has to offer this afternoon. So before we get into the introductions and everything that is following our program, we want to say to all people who are, or participants who are on the other platform you're viewing, you can and should put your comments and questions in the chat. And we have our wonderful Miss Carlin Largy over there, who will transfer your questions and comments over on this platform, so we can get all of them answered as much as possible as we get through our program. Okay, so I'm going to ask now, as we open up our program for everybody who is coming on, to invite the presence of God in our midst. And we're going to ask Miss Shireen to step up and present us, just take us to the throne of grace, as they say. Miss Shireen Murray. Wait, we're not hearing you. Take care. Yeah,
Are you hearing now?
perfect, yes.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, as we come before you today, we humbly give thanks for our lives and for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. We ask, O God, that your presence be with us today as we as parents and teachers come together to discover more about our boys. Grant us, Father, the knowledge and understanding as we listen to the presenters today. Lord, may you help her to deliver her theory to us in such a way that we will immediately get clarity. We ask your blessings on the hardworking teams that came together and planned and executed such a forum as this. Bless each and every one of them, O Lord. We give thanks also for everyone that has entered and will enter this platform today. Guide this program, Lord, and when it is finished, may we all be able to say, it was good for us to be here. Father, continue to bless us throughout this day, we pray. Through your Son's holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Miss Shireen. The wonderful words there, taking us to the throne of grace, and opening up with the presence of God in our midst. We cater for learning for students, but we never even stop to think. Sometimes we never stop to think if they are really grasping what we're teaching, or if they're grappling with the thoughts that we're trying to get them to develop. And so that's why we're here this afternoon. And for those of us who are just coming into the platform, the theme for this evening's seminar is facilitating growth and development in boys. And our wonderful presenter, Dr. Marcia Chin, will explore the topic, boost your gender understanding. Okay, so stay tuned for that boost. I'm sure many of us are waiting anxiously for that. But before we go into the sharing and the talk and the collaboration, please remember that you should drop your questions in the chat and we will have them answered. Okay, Miss Largy is on the chat and she's waiting and listening for you guys, your questions. Okay, now the next item on our program is we're gonna get our an overview, a talk, an introduction, a welcome, if you will, from our JTA president, Mr. Jasper Gabriel. He is JTA president for this year. So welcome, Mr. Gabriel, and I'm handing over to you now to bring greetings. Give Mr. Gabriel a few seconds here to adjust. Or Miss Romaine, Miss Romaine Robinson. Yes, you need to do the introduction. I think that's a little boo there on my part.
It happens sometimes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so before I go ahead with the introduction, let me welcome each and everyone here in a formal way and to also share with you the purpose of this seminar. Good afternoon, everyone. The task is mine to extend welcome to the persons who have joined us today. So we will begin with Mr. Jasper Gabriel, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Dr. Dane Dice, Chairman of the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force, and our moderator for this afternoon's session. Vice Chairman of the Education Task Force, Ms. Leslie Samuel, and other task force team members on the platform. Our distinguished presenter, Dr. Marcia Chin, National Early Childhood Committee members, and other specially invited guests on the platform. And to the numerous parents and teachers who have joined us, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, it has always been our objective to facilitate the holistic development of our teachers and students. Therefore, we consistently research and plan for these forums that and are intended to increase knowledge and provide support. Boys in particularly have been at a disadvantage for some time. However, it is important to note that improvement is being noticed as research efforts are increased. It is hoped that at the end of this session, teachers and parents will garner useful ideas and tips on how to effectively facilitate growth and development in boys. You will benefit from an in-depth presentation from a presenter who has done extensive research in this field. You will also benefit from age-appropriate tips, which will enhance teaching and learning experiences and eventually achieve desirable learning outcomes. The National Early Childhood Committee and Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force wishes for you to focus your attention on the content that will be shared with you, as we believe that it will enhance development. And with that being said, it is an honor to introduce to you the President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mr. Gabriel, who continues to represent the teachers of Jamaica with dignity and integrity. His desire is to facilitate improvement in the working conditions and standard of education across all levels of the Jamaican education system. That has propelled him to be an ardent worker and supporter of the early childhood education. He continues to play an integral part in the positive transformation of the early childhood sector and believes that the backbone of society is a strong family. Hence, I am sure that he is particularly pleased with the staging of this seminar. Help me welcome Mr. Jasford Gabriel as he brings greetings.
Thank you very much, Roy. Are you hearing me?
Okay,
Just
yes.
about, yes.
Sorry about that. You were cutting in and out. I'm wondering if it's my internet or yours.
Not sure, but
All
these
right.
things happen.
Thank you so much, Roy. I need to carry you around with me to introduce me at all the different engagements that I have. So get you running through, John. Chairman of this afternoon's function and chairman of the Jamaican Diaspora Education Task Force, Dr. Dwayne Dice, Miss Roy Main Robinson, a hard-working National Early Childhood Committee chair, our presenter, Dr. Marcia Chin, CEO of Springboard Academy. I'm looking forward so much to your presentation on boosting your gender understanding, because I need to boost even my gender understanding as well. I'm sure I'll understand more about myself when you're done. Miss Leslie Ann Samuel, Vice Chair of the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force, other members of the task force and the National Early Childhood Committee, colleagues all. I must first apologize for not being able to display my video. It has been such a busy day, and based on where I am in transit now, I'm unable to do so. But I want to start by again commending the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force for this wonderful relationship that we have that is so mutually beneficial. I can say for sure that all the topics that have been explored and the presentations that have been made have been extremely beneficial to our membership. And I can say that it is highly appreciative, and we look forward to continuing to strengthen the bonds as we unite and serve together. So profound appreciation to you. I must say today is another example of an excellent topic being chosen, because this matter of gender understanding, especially as it relates to our boys, is so very, very important. I could be talking on this for the whole afternoon, but obviously we have an expert presenter to share, and we're looking forward to that. Because even now at the University of the West Indies, Mona, just under 30% of the enrollment there are male students. And it's a mapping of what we see happening across the country from the primary school level through to secondary and tertiary. We're looking for strategies to fast track and improve the performance and overall development of our boys. We know that for leadership and development, it's important that our boys progress academically as well. And so I'm delighted for our girls, but I'm very concerned about our boys. And yes, Roy Main is right. We are seeing improvements as different strategies are being rolled out, that will impact our boys' performance and behavior. But I don't think it's happening fast enough, and I don't think as educators we are doing enough research or taking it seriously enough so that we can zero in on the strategies that will seek to improve our boys' education. And so even in Jamaica here, we have boys, we have co-ed institutions, and we also have male-only institutions. But the truth is, if you drill down into what's happening in terms of the pedagogy, it doesn't really vary much, if any at all, when a mixed group is being taught, as opposed to whether we are teaching boys alone or girls alone. And the truth is, we know that boys learn very, very differently, are necessarily more hands-on, and I believe that a big contributor to the underperformance of our boys is the way that we actually engage them. And if we can't find ways to tap into their different multiple intelligences and levels of interest, then we will continue to have this challenge. And this challenge is causing serious implications in a negative way. It's having serious implications for our national and social development. So many of our teenage boys are on the streets. They are in crime and violence. Uh, we can't find them for leadership roles and positions because if only 30% are matriculating for tertiary studies, it begs the question, what is happening with the other 70%? And I can guarantee you, most of them are not meaningfully engaged. And so this is a conversation that we need to spread right across the country and the Caribbean and the world. And certainly the strategies that we will be listening to this afternoon, I'm sure each of us will be able to take something from the presentation that can help to enhance the way that we treat with and help our boys to develop. And so I look forward to it. Again, I express commendations for this partnership, and I'm sure that it will all go well as far as the topic is concerned and as far as the impact on our national development is concerned. God bless you. Looking forward to the rest.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Gabriel. Wonderful overview there. Okay, so now we have, and also thank you, Miss Ramin Robinson, and she's the chair for the Early Childhood Committee, the JTA. Okay, so now we're going to invite our own Miss Jackson to introduce our presenter this afternoon. So, Miss Jackson.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Totally, yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I am excited because our presenter is the CEO and founder of her own company, Springboard Academy. This company offers a range of educational and leadership development programs, as well as coaching services. She recently took on the role as vice president at the Catholic College of Mandeville in Jamaica, where she will function as the head of department of graduate studies and research. I'm excited. Dr. Chin earned her PhD in leadership studies with an added leadership coaching component at the University of San Diego in 2018. She has a master's in business administration, developed a diploma in math, bachelor's in management studies, and is certified in leadership coaching. Her doctoral qualitative research focused on exploring new ways to better educate and enhance the education experiences and life outcomes of high school male students in Jamaica. From her studies in the education and psychological fields, she attained her Diploma of Education in Mathematics and co-authored a research paper on the influence of parenting styles on students' academic achievements. Her research includes both quantitative and qualitative methodologies, and her scholarly interest centers on educational equity, student success, leadership development, and engaging in researcher practitioner partnerships to advance meaningful and quality educational experiences and outcomes for our students. Dr. Chin, professional teaching experience covers various topic areas and spans a wide range of students from the primary level to the doctoral level. She has engaged students from various academic, racial, cultural, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds in both the United States and Jamaica. This broad teaching experience has therefore fostered her ability to work with a diverse student population using a variety of instructional methods. I'm excited. She also has many years of practical experiences in management and leadership roles with major corporations in Jamaica, and in a variety of industries, including airline, banking, and financial services. She indulges in a good book or film when she is relaxed and enjoys learning about people's lives while experiencing new cultures and seeing new places. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our presenter for today, Dr. Marcia Chin.
Thank you very much. I'm almost saying, is that me? You read that, you generated that so well. I feel very complimented and honored to be part of this team and to be allowed to present some of my work, and for the most part, pull out what I believe you want for this particular presentation. I understand that we have teachers and the parents listening, and more so from the early childhood grouping. So I've tried to organize the presentation in a manner that is not as academic as if I was presenting it to at an academic conference, and trying to make it meet even parents' levels. So I'm more focused on the audience out there who just want to know what to do with their picnic, really, if I'm to talk Jamaican. That's really where, so for those who are more so academic, you can ask those questions. That's almost a different presentation, but I pulled a little bit from my actual research presentation to start off, to sort of set the stage, and then I've gone into simpler ways of breaking down the information for parents to understand. So I'm going to share my slides. And let me see if I'm on the right one. Just make sure before I go. Okay. So here we are. So let me just make sure of my time. It's now 1:04 my time, which is 4:04 your time.
Yes.
And how much time do I have?
About 35 minutes.
35 minutes. All right. So I'm going to move through with this as best as I can. I hope I can take questions in some meaningful way. So my work, How Boys and Girls Learn Differently, is what I'll be focusing on today. And coming from my research, so this is a little probably dated, but let me present it. This is a rhetoric that was really troublesome for me. And Jasper Gabriel actually spoke to a lot of the issues already, and it's not new. So it's not new headlines, you all know it already, but just to share that I was really concerned, one, from my own son, because I had a son that was really problematic for me. I also had a daughter who was moving ahead, and I was so confounded of the reality that I faced and got personally bothered by it and got motivated to move ahead. And my work in Jamaica with young children, I started recognizing the issues with boys in addition to the headlines every year, and it continues to date. And the fact that even in 2016, Dr. Carl Gentles thought we are not teaching the boys according to the ways that boys learn best. We've been talking about it, and but I don't know if we are doing enough to correct it. And I wouldn't say I'm bothered that we're still saying the same thing now in 2021, but I guess that's the reality when you have a very complex issue in society that is not one-off. It's not like you can blame the boys or blame the parents or blame the teachers or blame any one particular grouping. It's really a social dynamic that's very complex. But what I'm encouraged by is the fact that the conversation continues, and keeping the conversation alive is very important for us to keep working on the issue. I'm hoping that we build some momentum and we're able to move forward in a faster way, such that our society can really get enhanced by having our male force be productive in our society more than they have been. Not trying to negate them at all, because it's not a blaming game of any of our male students or male force in Jamaica, because this is a problem all over the world, not just Jamaica, but Jamaica small. And when you're in a small geographical location, you have to deal with the issues faster because of the impact immediately on the society. I show you this, this is part of my research presentation. I just wanted to show you the concepts that I had to pull together to get a sense of what was causing underperformance. So lots of, around 3 years of reading and figuring it out. You know, in Jamaica, we don't think of race. I got really exposed to it when I came to the US. And as I started to read some of the work from our Jamaican researchers from earlier on, Parry and Miller, I started to see the relationship that historical slavery has on our Jamaican male. And this notation at the top here is where it actually started for us. And I'm not going to go into that. I just want to show you that these are the pieces, and I'm going to go into only 2 pieces of it today. But this is where some of it starts in terms of the gendered socialization that occurred for males in our society, and where it still is in effect because of how normalized some of the practices have become, how institutionalized and ingrained those practices are, that we thought they're the way to do things. But in fact, it's just that it's carried over for years and it is still affecting us. So I had to take a look at that, and I saw that reality and realized how it has fermented in our society and become a way of how boys should be and how girls should be, and our gendered socialization came out of a lot of marginalization of our males in the past, how we were gendered into socialization of what girls do versus what boys do, and how we formed our identity through that process. So I'm hoping this is not too complex for our parents who are following this, but consider the circle starts at the top here. It moves around, that these are the issues that I believe are underpinning, and it moves through that. In the center here, this is what is causing the underperformance in the long run. So there are gender different, so this is brain research is the other aspect, where apart from our socialization process, there are actually biological differences between male and female that we have not taken into account. And those are the issues I'm going to focus on today. We can readily see more about the socialization, but in terms of the biological differences that are causing some of the problems, and because we're not looking at that, we're missing out on a lot of information we can get from understanding the impact and how it makes learning different for boys and girls. And then, of course, when race and class and all those other issues come into play in our culture, it then mediates those factors. And whilst we don't have that segregation as in the US, we have colorism and we have classism. So those issues are there, but we as Jamaicans don't confront that because we call ourselves Jamaicans no matter what color we are. So consider that these are the theoretical concepts that I've organized in a manner to say these are the issues that are causing underperformance. And for today, because this is a stage 1, this conversation continues, we're going to focus more on the biological differences and what strategies we can use to apply to gender teaching to take advantage of what that offers for us. Here is another representation of the same thing, but this is just a quick pass through just to say, in identifying what will make male education be enhanced is the re-imaging for success. We have a negative way of speaking about boys. We have a negative way of presenting our young men. We have a negative way, and we think in a very penal way that when you are hard on someone, you motivate them to change. But in fact, it doesn't actually go like that. So from the research I've looked at then on the other side, what enhances male educational performance, re-imaging or reimagining, both words go together, how you can change a picture of what they look like in society so the reflection of themselves starts to improve. what right now what they're seeing probably is not good. All the news are a lot of moral panic, a lot of panic in the society, and it causes a lot of fear. So what they really need moving to to my right is relational community, and teaching that involves love, care, and belonging, and a lot of empathy to understand what's going on inside of them, particularly for the issues we don't know about, which are the biological issues that are different between male and female, and applying gender relevant education, focusing on novelty for boys. I like things that are interesting and new and different. They're really caught up with that. Things that are relevant to them. You'll hear a boy say, that don't make sense. Why must I know that? It has to be relevant to them. And we have somehow have to convey that relevance to them. And of course, they fidget, they can't keep quiet. So movement is important. And all the activities in their lives to be culturally relevant to them. So I've just showed you two different main slides of the theoretical concepts that come together to show the reasons for underperformance and the reason to enhance performance. So on that note, I'm moving now into how I'd like to focus more on the gender issues. So right now, some of the gender issues you may be having in school with boys: talkative, playful, distracted, bored, sleeping, short attention span. And we're concerned about that because we expect them to be a little bit more like girls, a little bit more diligent. They sit for long periods of time. They can actually take in everything you're going to say, process it, and give you an output that you like. But it doesn't necessarily work like that. And we look more into that. And then there is this part of the peer culture. They're trying to belong, they're trying to find a clique, and they're trying to really find themselves as they grow through those 0, I call it, to 12, even to 18 years. And it is very complex. Each child is unique and grow at their own pace, even though we have the macro differences of male and female. So the argument is whether, is it nature or is it nurture? And to me, it's both. Biologically, we're different in very critical ways. And the cultural dimension, we're all in the same culture, but we socialize by the gender that we have ascribed to a particular human species. And the sex is defined at birth. And once we say this is a boy, then there is a way in which we start to interact with that child as a boy. Certain types of toys, certain types of languaging, certain types of nurturing that child into their particular gender. And it gets reinforced in society by other socializing agents, particularly school. What I want to look at is focus first on the nature. And the first nature issue is the brain structure of girls and boys. So let's look at the girls first. In terms of brain, so I'm not trying to use big words now, but I have to use the correct terminologies for you to understand what part of the brain that they're looking at that is so different for males and females. So the cerebral cortex, that all that piece up here that does all your functioning. So for girls, that structure is more defined for verbal and emotive function. As to the reasons for that, that's going into a lot of science, but really from the scanning of male and female brains, these are the results. I'm really presenting to you the results. And for girls to have that type of brain structure, naturally, if you're defined for verbal and emotive functioning, emotive meaning emotion, you have greater vocabulary skills, reading skills, listening skills, and memory, as well as in the hippocampus, that larger for girls. So they have a learning advantage, especially in the language arts. And you'll find that sort of happening where girls can write earlier and read earlier, and they can listen, and they can recall things more than boys do. And boys probably get very confused. But let me, as I'm talking here, something is coming up. I need to remind you that these are in some ways dichotomies where you're thinking it's absolutely girl and it's absolutely boy. But be cautious about that. It's a spectrum. So we're not talking in any way moving like girls become boys. I'm not talking transgender language. I'm talking about the fact that you can have some girls like myself who are more tomboyish, and they can in fact have behaviors that are more boyish. And you have males that are a little more genteel, and they can then seem to have more effeminate ways of being. So we want to understand that no girl will be entirely girl in all what I'm saying, and no boy will be entirely boy. So you have to make sure you keep that sort of continuum as a frame that you use to understand your son, your daughter, your students. So, but overall, just to understand, as you get a little bit more sensitized to observing your children, what you're looking for. Are you noticing that in the classroom that the girls are writing more, or certain types of girls? Are you noticing that the boys are not doing the same? Are you noticing that there's some mix up there that's going on somehow? These are reasons for it. So boys that may not be doing that should not be penalized because they don't have that capacity. When there is more blood flow going through your brain, your mental activities increase and you're able to handle more complex activities. So for the boys, almost like the opposite, their brain is defined for spatial relations. So they learn easier through movement and visual experience. They need to see the picture. So just like I'm preparing this presentation, I know I'm going to have male and female in my session here. Just like any presentation, we're probably thinking, we're not just thinking it's going to be a presentation. I'm there saying, should I put words? Should I put some pictures? You know, you're trying to see how your message will be conveyed and received by your audience. And your students are your audience, and your children are your audience, if you want to think of it like that. So when you understand that boys need movement, they need visual, then giving them all words, it's not going to work. Not that they're not to learn it, but it will take a while. With less blood flow, they will not be as mentally quick in the first stages. And the research is showing that boys are like a year behind girls up to a certain point. And by 12, everybody sort of even out for the most part. So it's in the early stages, and it's suggested that boys should go to school 1 year later than girls. We may not be happier with that, because I remember when my son was young, I was dying to get him out of the house, but he was really, really immature and really wasn't ready for school. They tend to drift off and fall asleep because of how their brain is wired, because of the spatial wiring, it really goes into a rest state when it's like done. And you can't beat him because he has fallen asleep in the class and he has not completed the assignment. He's just done. So keep those in mind. The other biological issues are hormone levels. For girls, particularly for serotonin and oxytocin, what the research is showing that girls have more of these hormones. And therefore, having these allows them to be calmer. They want to bond and make friendship. They're not as impulsive because they're calmer, and they're able to sit for longer periods because of the hormones. So this is different from brain structure now. This is the internal biochemistry. Boys mature slower on this level as well because they have less of these hormones flowing. They have a lot of testosterone and they're moving. So having less of these mood type of hormones, they're more impulsive, not able to sit for long periods of time, and they need movement to actually feel comfortable. So when you see them fidgeting and going on, and you're wondering why he can't keep quiet, he literally can't keep quiet. Then we move now from the biological factors to the socializing factors. So these socialization agents, you're already aware of, but I want you to take keen attention to how this is powerful in society. Who is a girl to be? Home, primary agency in the process of socialization. School, whether even if you're sensitive as a teacher, and I think we've been doing a lot of that in Jamaica now, where we're transforming our course material to reflect more the Jamaican culture and the look and color of our own people. So we're not getting those books from England and the US that much that reflects a lot of non-Jamaican color, because we're really diverse, but for the most part, we have African descent. And we want to see ourselves in that and recognize that and be able to relate to that better. And children who are growing up will start to identify with what they're seeing in books. And if they are not represented, as much as it is not spoken about and it's not even something that you're conscious of or they're conscious of, it makes an impression and forms their identity in terms of whether they're beautiful, whether they can get some things done, make some accomplishments, because they're not seeing themselves reflected in media or culture. It's other people. So for our own Jamaican people, it's so important to make sure that we're reflecting what we want our people to be, so that that visual is powerful in our hearts and minds. Other factors: socioeconomic status, the race and the shade. I remember when I used to go to school, I was born in Spanish Town, and I grew up there, and I went to St. Catherine basic school, primary school, and high school. And I remember when I was going to St. Catherine basic school, there was St. Catherine prep school just across the fence. And it's when you're doing these research and you reflect on your life, you recognize, oh, that's what that was, as late as this is. I actually remember standing at the fence when I was a little girl over the basic school, and I was looking over the fence and saying, why are they in a different school from me? Why is it a lot of Chinese people or fair-skinned people over that school than my school? I remember being very puzzled, and I used to stand at the gate and hold on to it and look over there because they seemed like they were having a better time. And I'm sure probably some of you might reflect and see that, and it's within our society. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. This is not judgment, but this is just to show you how it impacts the minds of our children, and it plays in our psyche as to who we are within our population. So your socioeconomic status, your race, or the shade, we like the browning thing. I was a browning in Jamaica. It got me a lot of places because I'm browning, because that thinking. And when you get a little bit more conscious, or as they say, you're woke, I'm just messing with you. You get a sense of, oh, that's what that was about. And you start to see how you can adjust your thinking and your behavior with your children and with people, so that you can be more inclusive in your approach and elevate and empower people in your relationships. Geographical location, where we live, Cherry Gardens, or you live Trenchtown, and what does that mean? We have that everywhere. It's not to Jamaica alone, but just what it means. And all the social dimensions that happen when children come together from different parts, having different access to different resources, and what happens to them. I just want to take a moment there and check in on time, because I'm shifting now to some strategies.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well.
All right.
Yes.
So in terms of understanding the biology and the sociology of what impacts the learning of our children, here are some pointers. In terms of schools and teachers, lots of work for us. Sometimes when I reflect on some of my teaching in my earlier years, I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? Now that I'm more learned. But you learn from the past. You can't beat yourself up. You just don't compound it and continue doing the same thing. And yes, we lack a lot of resources in Jamaica, but when I see some of the pictures of some places that are really poor in resources, and I remember even when I was young, where we could learning is learning. And children don't notice those things at first if we don't make a big deal about it, that you're just learning in a space, because the learning is what is more important. If that's all the resource that you have, focus on what's more important. We can't fight to get richer resources at the loss of the learning of our children. So as much as we say teachers understand the different learning styles of boys and girls, you're being part of this presentation to enhance your knowledge and understanding. So you can start step by step. You won't do it all perfect to create a type of learning environment, a growing environment, and meet the needs of both by using different modalities. Capture what the girls need, capture what the boys need. Once you understand that the boys are wanting movement and understand more spatial learning practices, and girls really can sit and read a book, but at the same time, it's not like you're not going to cross function by having them be enriched in where they need to grow. But you do that according to the zone of possible work, right? Because you can't push children beyond a point of their capabilities. So you have to evaluate all the time to see when they're ready to take on more independent or get a stretch. And recess. I think we always have recess. I don't know what COVID has done. I don't know how things are going, but always have the time for that brain rest, especially for boys, but for everybody, because girl need a chance to go and chat with their girlfriends because they're passing notes in the class, and that's indication when they're just not learning anymore, and they need a chance to bond. And the boys may need a chance to go and run up and down outside or something. And I mean, I'm talking even any stage to just get out and be. As we've all suffered through COVID, even though sometimes I just want to get out of the apartment and just go and run until I'm tired, because you just feel so cooped up. Another important factor, which I had so much regret about the labeling of children. We always say, "Oh, you stupid, sir." You know, I remember hearing that as a child. I've never said that to my children, but I probably have said other things. It's like, you can think of it. I don't even want to say it myself, but not to label children. It's part of our Jamaican lingo. And we'll say things, I'm going to knock off your head if you keep doing that. I remember saying that once to my son, and he went and he reported me to his teacher at school, and they called me. He misinterpreted. He thought he was in danger, simply because for what I said. And I didn't even remember, because it was so unconscious, because it was coming from a place of things I heard when I was a child. It was said to me, and it's said in our society, and it just continues until my son stopped me and said, "Hey, I did not even realize what I was saying." So it's going to take a while for us in our own Jamaican style, how we discipline our children. And I'm not trying to make you soft. I'm not trying to make you soft. That's not it. But it's understanding the impact of those words on the minds of growing children who are developing their identity and their self-esteem and their confidence, that especially in this changing world that's becoming a little bit more cosmopolitan and a little bit more aware, and they're exposed to TV and everything, and they're starting to learn more from outside than you, and they're recognizing that's not right. So it's not right anymore. So we as a culture have to transform. We as a culture have to mature, and in that maturing, we may be resistant to change, but we have a lot of work to do as individuals to get there. Particularly with teaching boys, that the study breaks that you may give them, it must be active, so they can't just go out and sit down, unless they're tired, of course. But to really get out some of the energy. Help them with their literacy skills. That's an area their brain is not wired for. They're not wired for language very early. So you have to really do some hands-on, sit-down work with them to build their literacy skills. We know our boys are suffering in that area. So, and they can't do it like girls do. So it's going to take a lot of creation from teachers to really reflect and think about how they're going to do it, and how parents are going to support that journey. Journaling. I'm sure you're doing many of these in the schooling. And listen, teachers, I'm not even trying to point any fingers at anyone. So, I'm saying all this just as a way to present it, but don't take it personal like you're not already doing some of this, but it's just a validation perhaps on what you're already doing, or an enhancement of other ways you could do it, and invite the parents' support to help you through this, especially if it's a particular problematic issue. Boys are action-oriented, very competitive, impulsive, and they need a lot of creativity to express themselves and explore their particular interests. It will be different from girls. And they need to learn languaging. A lot of the violence that comes out with the boys is because they have not developed in the area of connecting their feelings with words. They are not able to express themselves and let you know what's going on. So they use their fist instead. But it takes work for us to help them with that. But it requires you to recognize what is occurring when they seem to be very violent. They don't have the capability developed properly to convey their feelings to words in a way that people can understand. And maybe there's a lot of shame involved because of how in our Jamaican society, we quickly call the boys sissy. And that shuts them down. That certainly doesn't open the door for their growth. Particularly for elementary boys. You don't have to take any notes, by the way. I've created a handout for parents and teachers, so you have all of this literally on it. So it's just presenting it so you can hear it, but you will have it in paper to take home with you. So these are ways to work with young children, particularly make lessons experiential and with lots of movements. Verbal instructions, no more than 1 minute. Put books around them. Let them see that, let that become part of what they see. Because if you don't see books, they have no relationship. They may not even start reading yet, but you can never tell. But you want to do that. And mentors, role models, you know, how can they come in? If I could not teach my son how to be a man. He came to me for nurturing, but I needed his father there for that role. It's important for males and females to have their individual role models. And hopefully you have enough around. There is sometimes you're challenged with those models, but remember, we're not perfect human beings, and you want to pull on people who have a strength that you can work with, although there are other sides to them, and just focus on working with that strength with those models. And let boys nurture one another. Sometimes they just need to fight it out and get it out. At the end of the day, and you're going to get more of this, I think, in a presentation that follows mine, about how to engage boys, and keep these 3 words in mind: relevance. It must be relevant to them, or they're going to be bored, they're going to walk away, and they can't even tell you why. It just don't connect for them. It don't mean anything. And how to get relevance is really conversation. What would you like to learn? Or give them options of all these 3 things. Which one would you like to work on today? Movement. They've got to move. They have to do something. They can't just sit at the desk and read a book and take notes. And the novelty is keen, because anything new, you want to go check it out. Boys are particularly attuned to that. What's new? What's next? And in terms of the details, this is, I think, is a presentation. You see, these are the pointers. So design lessons that end in a product, structure lessons that are competitive, activity again, and unsolved problems. That's where the novelty lies. Teamwork and competition. They love that aggression. They like to think through things, spatial, and having independent discovery and self-direction. They can think it through. So of course you have to apply things according to the age level, right? It's not for the degree of difficulty have to be worked out. I don't want to leave the girls out. As Jasford said, you know, we're delighted for girls, but we're concerned for boys. So I put the girls at the end here, and you have all this as well. So you want to also recognize that girls are on a continuum. I did not want to do home ec in high school. They forced me to do home ec, and I wanted to do geometry as my subject, my extra subject. And they forced me to do home ec. And I'm sure if I'd taken the other direction, my life would have gone in a different world, but I ended up doing what I wanted in the long run. But so don't force girls to be girls. Allow them to be who they are, and to have enough options of the type of work and toys and activities that they want to participate in. It takes work again. It takes teachers to be open, to be a facilitator of children's growth and learning versus a policing of it or an imposer of it. So I'm watching time, so I'm going to just quickly look at the main words here: sports and STEM, where a lot of women are now coming up in their leadership and their knowledge of engineering and applying science and technology. So everyone has a capability. Dwayne, time.
You can do about 6 more minutes.
Yeah, that's about it, what I have left.
Yes.
Elementary girls, particularly also, these are our suggestion and strategies for that age group um, uh, that will foster where they haven't grown, their perceptual learning and their leadership and negotiation skills. Don't teach the girls to just be demure and passive. That's where they end up later on in life, being preyed on by men who mean them no good. So they need to learn to really be assertive, not aggressive. That's two different things. By knowing how to negotiate with life, to navigate the landscape, to learn how to self-direct their life and not just be misinterpret the word submission. And those quieter girls, there is a lot of high energy within them. They just present themselves quieter, so no judgment on them. So at the end of the day, what you've learned is that boys and girls learn differently because of both biological and sociological reasons. The brain structure and hormone levels on the biological end, and on the culture end, the socializing agents of home, school, media, their race, their class, where they live, the type of interactions they have in their search for belonging and to fit in. But they have unique learning styles and developmental needs that with more observation, we could probably identify and tap into it, because the way a child is raised and educated will have an impact on how they develop and their eventual outcome. So the takeaways is, on a happy note, help boys and girls have a happy, fulfilling, well-rounded and successful school life. See problems through a gender relation lens, meaning it's a boy and a girl, but then again, are they different? How and to what extent? What needs do they have? And teach according to their learning styles and capability, create an environment of culture of love, care, and dignity for them to flourish. And you teach them what to do, but also how to do it. Because you can say, behave yourself, but they actually don't know how to carry out that behavior. You have to explain what they literally have to do. Always keep in mind, every child is unique and will develop at his or her own pace, in his or her own way. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Chin. Very, very well received. Amazing presentation. I took some notes here, even though you said don't take any notes. I took some notes here because it confirmed a lot of personally what I've gone through as a young boy growing up in school. And there's some positives though, that I had male figures, male teachers around me that talked to me a whole lot about development and what I should do and should not do and so on. So it's very, very rich presentation. There are two things that I want to highlight here is the biological and socialization factors that really cause the development of different strategies in teaching and learning. So those are two things. And then of course on the down low, to let boys be boys and girls be girls. That's good. I'm sure we're gonna have you back again very, very soon with a follow-up to this. Very good one, Leslie. So are we gonna, so thank you so much. There's a vote of thanks coming afterwards. But thank you on behalf of all people here for the presentation. There is, following up here, a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation of this one that just took place. And so we're going to get straight into that, that one now. Before our vice chair, so she wears two hats, two vice chairs hats and a president hat. And many times you will hear about Ms. Leslie Ann Samuel as the president of UJA, but she's also the vice chair of JD TAN and also the vice chair of the Education Task Force in the JD TAN network. it's a lot of layers there to her hat. She's coming up right after the presentation that is going to be on now. Okay, so I'm gonna share the PowerPoint, but Miss Robinson is going to talk today to the effect of boys, the engaging boys in the early childhood classroom. So this is not my presentation, so I'm gonna just stop talking for a little bit and get Miss Robinson to come back on. She's the chair of the early childhood committee in JTA, Jamaica Teachers Association. Handing over to you, Miss Robinson.
Thank you, Dr. Dice. Very good presentation indeed. So there's not much to add to that. It's just that we're breaking it down a little bit to the early childhood classroom and give little tips on how you can engage your students there. So if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. It is important to plan for our children and in particularly our boys. Numerous teachers accept that the accomplishment differences between boys and girls are due to the reality that they learn differently. They also posit that if teachers differentiate their instruction to facilitate gender differences, then it is highly possible that this gap will diminish. And there you have a teacher who actually, that's Let's Exercise, that's a 5-year-old. So if you're going to be exercising or doing sports, then break it down, go down to their level, dress the part. Next, studies have shown that more boys are enrolled in kindergarten in comparison to girls. However, fewer boys graduate from high school than girls. It is then crucial for us to analyze what happens in the interim for this change to occur. The real question is, are our boys failing or are we failing our boys? Jean Piaget's theory encourages hands-on and student-centered environment for early childhood classrooms. This type of environment extends itself to be beneficial to our boys as a student-centered environment caters to the growth and development of our boys. And I especially like this theory. And we have some statistics there. Now, how do we engage our boys? Focus on independent discovery and self-direction. So you're going to provide materials to guide the process, but do not tell them what to do. Design lessons that ends in a product. So, of course, the lesson must be meaningful and it must be has an objective or has objectives. So, for example, here the picture is showing you, I think that's carrots in a bowl with water. No, that's the material that is going to be used. But then what are we going to use this to do? There must be an end product. Structure lessons as competitive games. Boys love to compete. Once the activity is competitive, you will get their attention and participation. Allow boys to address unsolved problems. Critical thinking is a necessary skill that is required in order to enhance growth and development in each child. So provide the opportunity of scaffolding that is required. It also requires motor activity. Boys love action. Have them create objects that they can interact with. And here you see a picture of, I think this theme is transportation, also the 5-year-olds or the 4-year-olds. So they would have made or modeled their own trucks and cars and buses and so on. But then they made them big enough for them to go inside of them. And if it's big enough for them to go in it, then they can create a lot of things from this. Competition, they'll be moving around. So this is a good activity to do. Focus on independent discovery and self-direction. And that is self-explanatory. Combine teamwork and competition. Boys love to compete. So just provide the activity and let them know that they're competing against each other, and you will have the best results. Now let's engage. Increase the use of graphics, pictures, and storyboards in literacy-related classes and assignments. Classroom methodology should include project-based education in which the teacher facilitates hands-on, kinetic learning. Provide competitive learning opportunities even while holding the cooperative learning framework. Include skill training in time, homework, and classroom management. Interact with the boys during the teaching and learning process. Allow freedom in classrooms and teach how to practice self-discipline in their movement. Group boys only and girls only sometimes. Create group work and discussion groups in core classes such as language art, math, science, and technology. Provide skill building for the sensitive boys. Approximately 20% of males fall somewhere on the sensitive boy spectrum, and special education classes are taught by teachers trained in how to teach boys specifically. My favorites, provide mentorship. So you allow the men or the daddies to come in sometimes, career days, and they will just enjoy that. Dress alike or look alike. We have done that with the females. Let's do it more with the males. Encourage praise, reward, and efforts. Like everybody says, encouragement sweetens the labor, right? And if they know, if you keep praising them for all the things that they do and reward their efforts, then you will get better results. And that's just some references there. Appropriate engagement of boys is guaranteed success. So if you facilitate them well, provide all the necessary and age appropriate, developmentally appropriate teaching and learning activities for them, then you will get the success that is required. Thank you, and I hope that was informative.
Yes, it was. It was very informative. Very, very good. Thank you so much. We have some wonderful ladies here. And how could I forget? I should have opened with this, that happy Women's History Month to everybody, women in general in particular, even though we're highlighting boys here. But they do have mothers. So happy Women's History Month to all. I also want to say that Dr. Chin, you're appointed assistant principal, vice president for the college at CCM. Yes, that's my alma mater. That school gave me a teachership, so to speak. So that's it. We're gonna talk a little bit more on that. So
Great
I want to, yes. We're gonna talk a whole lot more about that, but I want to invite Miss Leslie Samuel on the platform here she's gonna move the vote of thanks, but I want her to share a little bit too, because she has some sharing in her a capacity there as a leader. She's a woman in leadership, and she has done a one. She doesn't want to praise herself, but because, and that's where I come in. I'm praising her for that because she's doing a wonderful job between Yuja um, and also JD Tan, Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network. She's doing a wonderful job with us here. And she's very, very charming young lady, I should say, because she's still young and fresh in a good way. Okay, so that's good. So she's the Miss Leslie Samuel is the vice chair of the JDTA network, Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network. She's also the vice chair of the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force. And also she is the president of UJA. Okay, and many of us might know her as the president of UJA. She is also the recipient of the Caribbean, what is that award, no less than, I totally forgot.
Caribbean Live Image Award.
Image, yes, good. Says Image Award. She just received that one for last year. The presentation was earlier in February. And it's very, very fitting for her to receive that one from the Caribbean. I'm inviting her on now to give her her take from this afternoon's presentation and also to move the vote of thanks.
Sure. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Dr. Dice. Sometimes you notice I've schooled him well, okay, in a few areas, especially about the young lady part. Yes, indeed. But I am truly delighted to be here with you all. And I have to tell you all that this whole subject of what we need to do for our boys rings home because I have a son. So I get it, I completely get it. But let me tell you also that do be discouraged. My son hated to read when he was a child and now recommends books for his mother to read. I will have you know. As a child, he loved movies. Oh my goodness, he loved movies, could repeat lines of various movies to me verbatim. So I knew that the cognition was there. It's just, I just had to find the right things to interest him. And there is a lot of work going on in Jamaica on this topic. So ladies and gentlemen, know that this is really just the beginning. We will certainly hope to invite Dr. Chin back and perhaps others who are actually in Jamaica, perhaps doing some of the work that you may be interested in. So with that, I'll just say fabulous. More to come. Stay tuned. So as part of my responsibility this evening, I have the privilege actually following in Ms. Walker's footsteps. She provided that exemplary vote of thanks the last time we were together. So I'm going to try and step up my game here. So let me begin by saying a warm thank you to the JT.
Hold on. Before you move into the vote of thanks, I forgot to highlight the questions. Because of the time, we're pressing on time here.
All right.
There's a question here, and I should have asked Ms. Carlene Largy to if there's any question, but there's one here that Dr. Chin might be able to answer no super quickly. Is there any country that has a different curriculum for boys?
Oh, I'd answer it in the chat, but essentially this work is going on. But I loved the work in Australia. I read a lot of work from Australia. So I would say that would be a go-to because the US have a different type of social issue. And whilst Australia may be the same, I find that, I don't know why, they seem to align more on the type of messaging. I think that would be useful for us. So I would say, look at some of the Australian work. I would not say deny anything, but there is a tapestry of race in the US that is a fundamental issue here, where it's not so fundamental for us. And so you want to look broadly, but I did like the work from Australia and also from the UK, but that's my offering right now, but we can do more.
Okay. All right, sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Yes.
That we want to ask Dr. Chin?
Miss Largy, any other question you saw in the chat?
No, that was the question.
Okay. All right. All right, fair enough. All right, so let's start to wrap this up then. So I wanted to begin by thanking the Jamaica Teachers Association Early Childhood Committee for partnering with the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force to provide these seminars for our early childhood community. We have worked together over the past several months to provide what we hope are enlightening and practical information that we also hope contributed to both your professional and personal lives. Today's session was in fact the brainchild of one of the committee members. So we must extend our appreciation to her as well as to Dr. Chin for sharing the phenomenal background information on how our boys and girls learn differently by exposing us to the scientific information that exists, but also to the very useful tips of how we need to teach our boys and our girls. We will certainly make sure that everyone obtains your handouts so that we can all refer to them from time to time to guide our actions and reactions to our children. So thank you so very much, Dr. Chin. We truly appreciate you. Your presentation was spot on. As I mentioned, this program is a collaboration. So please allow me to extend sincere thanks to the members of the JTA's Early Childhood Committee who worked with us to formulate this event, and especially those who presented today, Ms. Shireen Murray Forsyth and Mrs. Halima Jackson Wilkins. And to the able and proficient JDETF technical support team in Tasheka Winter and Carleen Largay, thank you so much. Few organizations perform well without superior leadership. We have been blessed with several formidable leaders. JTA President, Mr. Jasford Gabriel, JTA's National Early Childhood Committee Chair, Ms. Romaine Robinson, and certainly the JDETF's Chairman, Dr. Dwayne Dice, who also served as our moderator today. Thank you for your leadership, your commitment, and your service to our teachers, our children, and their families. Lastly, let me offer sincere thank you to each of you who chose to spend this time with us. We hope that you found it to be a good use of your time and that you feel enlightened and empowered by the information that was shared. Our world continues to change right before our eyes. The internet has brought us closer and put a world of information of all sorts at our fingertips. Were it not for COVID-19, we would likely not be here today in this forum. So, as devastating as this has been, we give thanks for being able to seize this opportunity to be together and to share. So thank you all again for coming out. Stay tuned for the upcoming events. And in the meantime, please stay safe and well. Good evening.
All right. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you so much, Miss Leslie and Samuel. Awesome. I don't know if I should move the vote of thanks to the person who did the vote of thanks. No. But I have some announcement to make before we exit the platform. We have quite a lot coming up, and this is the wrapping up session, everybody. So we have quite a lot coming up. This month, we have on March 25th, we have our Catholic College of Mandeville Research Conference. We also have in April, we're planning something fun for teachers, so stay tuned. Our planning is going back to the table to plan something. I put fun and play online with teachers right across the diaspora, because we realize that you are working hard, and you know, when you think you're over the hill with COVID-19, it starts to punch at us again. So we want some fun out of the staying at home and the teaching online. So look for something like Kahoot or Bingo online, and sip and something like taste and do something in your living room, okay? Another one is May. In May, there are a few things coming up in May. Conferences, the Early Childhood Commission, we're collaborating with to have conference with them, their conference. And also we have Jaminars. There are quite a few Jaminars coming up starting in April, somewhere around 9th of April. All the way back, every Sunday in April, we have Jaminars. Stay tuned for those. You will get the notification for those. In June, everybody, in June, we have our annual Advancement in Education Summit. This is the highlight of the year for the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force. The summit is coming up in late June, so stay tuned for that, as well as the community colleges of Jamaica. They are hosting their conference as well. We're collaborating with them in June, in late June as well. So we have a packed calendar for the next couple of months. We won't overburden you with the rest of the year. So just keep those in mind until we meet again, okay? Everyone, please be safe. Please take care of each other. And please remember to share your strategies with one another as much as possible. They're not our own. They are to be used for our boys and girls and for all of us, okay? Walk good. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.